These are scenes you won't see anywhere else in the Arab world. The first demonstration in support of gay rights, and it took place here in Beirut. These demonstrators were allowed to protest the beating of two gay men. Though they were asked to remain silent and not speak to the media, their point was clear.
The message got to people in the government that we will not stay quiet against violence, whether it is against homosexuals or anyone else in Lebanon.
Sherbil is an activist and social worker at Helam, the first gay rights group in the Arab world, one of the organizers of the demonstration. Being gay himself and concerned about drawing attention to his family, Sherbil asked us to use only his first name. He says the group's mission is simple.
In short, our goal is to stop discrimination against homosexuals, and then we'll close down and all go home.
The movement toward gay rights is part of an opening up in Lebanon since the withdrawal of occupying Syrian troops in 2005. For a country once known more for wars, car bombs, and political assassinations, Beirut is assuming a new identity. The city was chosen as the #1 place to visit in 2009 by the New York Times. Beirut has once again reclaimed its mantle as arguably the most fun city in the Middle East.
This is Jameze, and for nightlife, it's the place to be on weekends. These bars and restaurants wouldn't be out of place in Europe or the United States. But Lebanon is still an Arab country with conservative social values.
The difference between what people see on the outside and what's inside is a paradox that clinical psychologist Dr. Brigitte Khoury knows well.
I've had Western men completely at a loss, not knowing, at one hand she looks very sexy, she dances on the table, and on the other hand he has to kiss her goodnight on the cheek and take her to her mother's house. So what you see actually on the streets of Beirut, in terms of the way women dress, in terms of, the clubs, is not necessarily, a full sexual revolution happening in the country. Not at all.
Lebanese laws still fall short of protecting women from domestic violence and rape. Abortions are illegal, though still available underground for exorbitant prices. Nadine Ma'awad is a feminist activist who says women can have these sexual rights and more, and society won't fall apart, as conservative critics say.
So they think that if women are having sex outside of marriage, or if abortion laws were different, or if homosexuals were given more freedom, or if a different sexual education was given at schools, they think that society would lose something that it had already and it would just disintegrate.
In more conservative parts of Beirut and across Lebanese society, some people still want to preserve the old ways. Jumana Haddad understands this and decided to take action. Last December, she launched a new magazine called Jasad, or Body. It's a quarterly magazine that sells for $10. The first edition sold the 5,000 copies that were printed. So far, Jasad has published articles about voyeurism, underground gay life, and fetishes, not topics you read about in the Arab media. Haddad describes the magazine as an intellectual and cultural approach to the body and sex. Besides being the editor and publisher of Jasad, Haddad is a multilingual poet who's working on a PhD on the writings of the Marquis de Sade. She points out that poetry and other texts written in Arabic more than 1,000 years ago talked about the body in a freer way than today.
Yesterday, a friend told me when he was reading the new issue, which includes a big dossier about the penis. He told me, I cannot avoid feeling awkward every time I read the word penis in Arabic, while in French or in English it just sounds okay for me. And I say, well, this is the schizophrenia that we're living in. I mean, we have to accept it. It's there, and we are using it in other languages. Why shouldn't we use it in Arabic as well?
A women's council and different religious authorities have already denounced the magazine. At a recent book fair, Jasad magazine had a small kiosk where people browsing were asked, "Is Lebanon ready for this magazine?"
Half the people are ready, and the other half are not.
This is a bold magazine with lots of graphic material. Men would probably enjoy that.
Jumana Haddad says the magazine wouldn't have been so controversial if she had published it in French or English. But challenging society is the way to change it, she says.
I always say this, if my father would have even imagined that I was going to do this when I was at home, when I was an adolescent, he would have maybe thrown himself from the 6th floor. But now he's very supportive, he's proud, so this is a big change. And this is why I believe in individual changes and individual fights.
It is only in Lebanon, Jumana Haddad says, where she has the individual freedom to pick this fight. I'm Kristen Gillespie reporting for Worldfocus from Beirut, Lebanon.